Good morning, everybody. My name is Chris Pfluger, the Chief Development Officer here at We Insure. And we have a lot of conversations with different folks across the nation as we're handling our national expansion. And one of the questions is a little bit about, if I'm an entrepreneur, how does this work for me, right? If I'm not in insurance, is it really turnkey enough? Of course, we would say yes. Do I really get all of the, do I really get all the carriers? Do I really get all the service? And some of those questions not only come from business people or people that are looking for ancillary services, but some of those questions actually come from people who are already producers, already in insurance, already doing well somewhere else, and they want to take it to that next level. They want to be the owner and they want to produce for themselves. So today we have two guests with us. We want to welcome Amanda White and Rob Weber. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Good. You're coming from the East Coast of Florida in the Stewart market. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Always glad when I get that right. All right. So, especially now, right? I just wanted to say, obviously you guys have gone from producers at another company. I'll just set this up, right? We've gone from producers in another company, one of our competitors, and realized kind of the value and the fact that, you want to be an owner for yourselves. You're already producing, you're already at a high level, but you want to be owners yourselves. And you guys were working together in the same office and said, why can't we do this? And so I wanted to start off with that, just kind of set that story up just a little bit. And then we'll go into a little bit of the background and then why you made that decision. So let's start with a little bit about each of you. And so, Rob, tell me a little bit about your background and, kind of how you got to the point of joining We.
Sure. So I've been an agent for, I guess, about 20 years now. Started my career with Liberty Mutual back in 2000. I was with them for about 6 years, became one of their top producers at their direct response center in Orlando. So that's their call center. Went on to join Farmers Insurance after that in their 21st Century division. Was there for several years, also one of their top producers. And then back around 2012, I moved from Orlando down to West Palm Beach and started working for a Brightway in Jupiter. And I was with them for about 6 years, which is where Mandy and I met. She came in about the last, my fourth year, I guess. She came in, and that's kind of how we got together.
And disrupted your whole thought process, but go ahead.
So was that kind of where you wanted me to leave it?
Absolutely. No, that's great. That kind of gives you a background. So you've had extensive experience, in insurance, multiple brands, and we're working for, one of our competitors who does have, obviously Brightway's a great company, has a lot of different, carriers. So you're obviously up and running and working as a producer in the office. So that's great. We can stop there for now. And then, Amanda, what you were in insurance as well?
Yes, I started with Allstate in 2005. So I did the captive thing till 2015, and then a lot of things changed with Allstate. So I decided, let me branch out and try an independent. And Bill from Brightway was actually an Allstate agent before. He sold it and then bought the Brightway franchise. So that's how he knew me. And then I went there, and then I started there, I think it's 16. I think it was 16. And then I just love the independent side because you have so many more options. You don't have to cut coverage to keep them on the books. So Rob and I talked about it, and we went up and saw We and interviewed up there. Not really interviewed, but talked to them. And on our way home, we're like, we're doing this.
Wow.
Yes, it was that quick.
Apparently we needed more of that, whatever that was, whatever in Jacksonville. That's great. No, that's exactly what we're looking for, that question. And you said something that was pretty strong in there, so I want to bring that back up. When you say captive, obviously with Allstate, you can only sell what Allstate has to offer. Right. And you also mentioned, I don't want to cut rate or cut coverage just to keep somebody. Right. So probably not in the best interest of the clients either, right? They're losing coverage but getting less dollars coming out of their pocket, but they don't realize what negative effect that might be. So very different on our side of the house, and so that's why I wanted to point that out. So that's great. So I'll swing back to kind of the due diligence question. So you're working together, you decide, hey, from an entrepreneurial perspective, we want to work for ourselves. We want to own an agency. We don't want to just work for someone else. And so at that point, you had to do some due diligence, right? So did you look at all the other competitors out there? Obviously, you knew somebody who had gone from, knew someone who was working at We Insure. So that helps with an introduction. But obviously, you're not going to just rely on someone else's word. So you want to do your due diligence. What did you do at that point? Who'd you look at?
Before Mandy and I had decided that we were going to do this together, I had looked into investing with another potential partner. And at that time, I looked at most of the other, kind of agency in a box type models, Brightway, Goosehead, and sat through the interviews, listened to what they had to offer. We Insure, how I kind of got, the idea to look into We Insure was Megan Vasali. Actually, she coincidentally was our marketing rep at Brightway for My Safe Home inspection at the time. And she was on my LinkedIn, and I noticed that she had gone from My Safe Home. She disappeared for a while and ended up at We Insure. And she was always constantly posting what a great environment it was. So in the back of my mind, I always wonder, well, I wonder what this We Insure is all about. I kind of knew that to some degree, just based on what Megan had been posting, that it was, again, kind of a Brightway type of model, all the characters, so on and so forth. So I ended up having an interview with Megan Murphy and my other business partner, and the information that, Megan kind of relayed to us about the sci-fi program, and, they pick up customer service from day one and blah, 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 really sparked my interest. I mean, because it was unlike any of these other models that I really had looked at the time. So it didn't quite work out with that partner then, but still stayed on the back burner. So, fast forward a little bit now, and Mandy and I, kind of decide, she approached me and said, why don't we, this is crazy that we're, sitting here working for this guy, we're running this office. Why can't we just do this together? And I brought it to her attention. I said, yeah, look, there's this company, that I already looked at. And I mean, it blew me away. And, we really need to sit down, and you need to hear what they have to say. So that's what we did. We got together, we sat through, the presentation again. Mandy was really blown away because, again, coming from Brightway, you got 90 days of customer service. You have to retain your clients. You're doing everything, trailing docs, underwriting memos, document uploads, everything from A to Z for that first 90 days. So that was, a huge selling point. And one of the things that I had looked at the time that as I was trying to determine, how is this going to benefit me, is I really took a look at how much time I was investing in doing all of this documentation upload, all the suspenses that I had to go through. And I added up all that time. And normally it took me about 1 day a week to get all of that done. I normally would do all of it on a Friday. So at the end of the year, after I tabulated all that time, it basically took 2 months of my time away from just dedicating to selling. 8-hour work days, 5 days a week, and then looking at that way and doing the math, 2 months of time was dedicated just to doing that. So, I told Mandy this. I said, this is huge. I mean, they're giving us an opportunity really just to do what we do best, and that's sell. We don't have to worry about any of the back end, very limited amount of back end. And we just focus on what you and I do best. And then, of course, we went and did our, meet and greets, and the family, environment that we kind of walked into was unlike any of the other, models. Brightway, very bureaucratic, black and white. This is what it is. This is what you're getting. With Goosehead, it was very kind of very salesy, very high pressure, buy an agency from us. Didn't really like that. You guys just seemed very down to earth. Customer service was great. We sat with customer service, and you could just tell that everybody gelled. Everybody was happy. Everybody we spoke to, really unsolicitedly said how great We Insure was to work for. And, we just knew and felt then that that's all going to translate, that's going to all roll downhill to the agency level, because everybody's happy, and everybody's, doing what they need to do, and everything's gelling so well, then, that's going to keep your agents happy too. There's not going to be less complaints. I'm confident in that they know what they're doing. And then of course, come to find out that a lot of Brightway, is that We Insure, it's like the revolving door of, they're coming from Brightway to We Insure because you guys are so great. So, is all for all those reasons, it was really just kind of a no-brainer to us. We're just like, this is it, this is the way to go. And, since then we really haven't looked back, and, it's been just, sky's the limit from that point.
That's fantastic, because you said a couple things there, because you were already with, a brand that has service, right? They provide service for you, but
right.
It starts at 90 days. So in that 90 days, you still have all the extra work to do that we actually provide on day one.
Exactly.
That's where if you were an independent and didn't have service at all, you'd have that much more. And so we found, basically 60 to 70% of time for an independent, agent is spent on service, not on. And then even when, you're saying, even when you're with another full service brand who supposedly has service kicking in, it still took you a week to do that. So I guess that is one of the benefits, is having that extra 2 months back to grow your book.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, that's fundamental as a salesperson, or, as the agent, growing your book of business, 2 months of extra time, that's that could be any $200,000, $400,000, depending on what type of, office you are. That's huge, especially if you're starting your agency. All that extra time that you get back to dedicate to generating your book is huge. It's huge.
Now, those are staggering numbers, obviously. And when you hear it like that, and you see it broken down, where you can really understand what it relates to, it's very impactful. So I appreciate you sharing that, because I know you've done that calculation, and obviously could explain, your combination, you guys' success is that, taking that burden off and allowing you to just, to let you out of the cage and run. That's got to be pretty exciting. So, Mandy, I'm going to ask you a question on culture. So, Rob mentioned a few times, it felt different. It was not too hard, not too soft. It was just right, right in the middle. But just tell me a little bit about, what are your thoughts on the culture? And now that you've come aboard, you started in early 2018. How do you feel about it now? How do you feel about, the team at We? I mean, what are your impressions?
Well, obviously we love, We. They're always there for help if we need it. The We network, if you have a question, you put it out there, and you have other agents, because especially right now with the market, everything's constantly changing. Like, you have to keep up with the emails, the underwriting guidelines. So I feel that if everybody works together, it's not like we're all in competition with each other. It's if you have a question and you don't know the answer to it, because sometimes I'll email Ron and be like, who does this or who does that? You know what I mean? Because we have so many carriers, you can't remember everything. And I just feel like the whole dynamic of the company, that we all work together, we all want to grow together. So I feel like that works best for us, and especially the customer service. I mean, the marketing department, agency services. I mean, everybody's just, it's like everybody loves their job. We've never had a negative situation at all with We in the 2 years that we've been open.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm making a note of that right now. No. Okay, that's perfect.
Pay raises for all of customer service.
Yes.
That's right. How about the technology? I know we shifted over to a new system about, I guess it's almost 5 months ago, 4.5, 5 months ago now. So we have applied Epic in place, which is the number one, software used in the insurance industry. So how do you feel about it? How was the customization? And, has it helped you? Is it all as advertised?
I think so, personally.
Yeah, I mean, as with anything, there's a little bit of a learning curve getting used to it. But now that we've had it, for the last several months, it's pretty seamless, very, very easy to have transitioned just from the old sci-fi entry into this one. Not really any complaints so far. The reporting is great. You get to really kind of get a pulse on your agency and, how you're doing. It's quite easy to track, your weekly and monthly numbers I'm a numbers guy. I like to look at all those numbers, to see where we're at, how we're, comparing to other agencies out there. And, that helps us set our goals. We're very goal oriented. We want to constantly be striving to do better than we did the last month. So having those features in the product is great. Lets us track that pretty easily.
Fantastic. And the training when you came aboard, was it more than you hoped for? Because you came from experience, right? You guys were experienced when you joined. Was the training pretty good for you?
Yeah, it was great. No real complaints. It was obviously having had the background and experience, it just made it all that much easier for us. We were already familiar with using, SEMCAP applied, systems. And so that kind of led to it being relatively seamless for us to move over to Epic and so on. But yeah, it was great. We had Daniel was doing the training at the time, and Ron. Both of those guys are great. No complaints. Very good. They made sure that if you did have any questions, they were right on top of getting you answers, and it was good. It's a good environment.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit. I'm going to ask you a separate question here. So the question comes up, how do you become a top producing agency? Because you guys, shot right up from the beginning. Obviously, right in the beginning when you started, you had experience, you hit the ground running. You got all these other, you got more time back, you have access to more carriers than you did before, and all of a sudden, you just kind of exploded. Now, you continue that growth as you go through. What's your secret? How do you become a top producing office?
I think, build a rapport with a lot of mortgage brokers, realtors, and our existing clients also. We're basically 100% word of mouth. Ooh. Rob and I, knock on wood, have not advertised at all, basically, except for like Facebook, and with our mortgage brokers.
Free advertising.
Yes, free advertising.
On LinkedIn.
Right. So sometimes we get mortgage companies from clients that don't use ours, but they see how quick and efficient we are getting their EOIs and everything back to them, that they're like, oh, and I always throw it out there. Well, who do you do you have a good insurance agent that you use? We're a broker. We write with every carrier. We'll do, make you look good also as we're giving your clients the best rates. So we ask. You have to ask. If you don't ask, you don't get back.
Okay, and you and I talked about it before. Rob, we mentioned it. As you went through that, the responsiveness and the expectations in today's market. You're really getting back to folks and giving them, a consultative approach as well. So it's not just I'm slapping together a quote, send it out there, hope you take it kind of thing. It's more, hey, there's a couple options out there. Here's what I'm providing, and that's been my experience as well. Personally, same kind of thing is I would have gone one way, and then I've had a discussion saying, okay, I don't need that because I don't know enough about it. Now that I've been educated, I better go this way, and I feel comfortable with my decision as a consumer. That speed to my speed and responsiveness has been fantastic, but also having that extra level of expertise helping me make that has been great. So I'm sure your clients appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. Just being knowledgeable and spending the time with them, that's oftentimes I do get a comment like, man, I really appreciate like all the time that you will dedicate to, explaining all this. It's like, it's unusual, I guess in the service industry anymore. It's rare that you get someone willing to spend the time to sit down with you and make sure you have a full understanding, whether you're a client or, a broker or referral partner. I've sat down with some referral partners. They've asked me to, do a Zoom meeting with some of their personnel to help them understand the industry and what's happening. And, that's really the key to I think our success is really getting your name in the mouths of realtors and mortgage brokers. Because like Mandy said, you know, almost all of the way that we've generated our revenue is through mainly mortgage brokers, realtors, just to you know, a little bit of a lesser extent, only because, you know, sometimes the buyer doesn't end up buying that property. But with the mortgage brokers, by the time they've come to you, they're qualifying them for their loan. They're already got a contract. They're pretty much good to go. You know, so with a broker, knowing them and their industry, this is something that I kind of introduce myself with when I am kind of trying to get another broker on board is, look, I know your industry. This is how we operate. You know, 90% of the business we generate in our office is through mortgage broker referrals. So I know what you're expecting. You know, I know you want quotes back right away because that's a difference maker. If you can get your, you know, loan proposal in front of somebody first, you already have, you know, your closing document, your closing disclosure kind of squared away for them. You have all those numbers queued in. The statistical, you know, probability of you closing that loan goes up exponentially. You know, it's fundamental for any agency, anyone that I can, you know, if I'm giving a piece of advice to any agency out there, would be become efficient at what you do as far as quoting and lining up your day to get these quotes out. Make sure you're getting them out same day, because that is a huge difference to these mortgage brokers and realtors. And it's a common comment that I get from, you know, many of these partnerships or brokers is that I cannot believe how quickly you get this back to me, you know. And I make that commitment to them that if you get me a quote you get me a quote request before 5 o'clock, I will get it back to you the same day. So this is not a 9 to 5 job. This is an atmosphere where if you want to excel and be one of the top agencies, you have to realize that you're not closing your laptop at 5 o'clock. I make sure that they know if you need to get a hold of me, you know, here's my cell phone, here's my email address, text me, call me. I don't care if it's at 12 o'clock at night. If you have a closing the next day and you need something urgently, let me know, you know, even if it's after 5 o'clock, you know, I will get it to you. And that makes a huge difference to them, again, because it just helps them close. And setting the right expectation. If you can't get it to them, you know, let them know that. Look, you know, all they want is to know a time frame, you know, and for you to either meet that or exceed that. You know, if you tell them, look, I'm going to get it to you the next day, and you still get it to them on the same day, that makes a big difference. You know, they remember that. You know, so getting those things to them quickly, you know, is huge. And I think I had mentioned to you before, I had done a validation for one of the new agencies that opened up down the street from us in Stewart, and he was coming from the mortgage broker industry. He did like a field study on how quickly agents got quotes back, and it blew me away. I don't know how agencies can stay in business like this, but he said on average, it was taking an agency anywhere from 3 days to a week before they would get a quote back.
What?
So in the meantime, you know, you got me, and I'm getting the quotes to them same day. You are losing this. It doesn't matter if your quote was cheaper or not at that point.
Yeah.
You know, I've gotten to them first. So now, you know, the broker that, you know, has referred me said, this guy's the best. Don't even look at these guys anymore. You know, they're taking forever. We need you to close this right away. You know, you're losing business. You're losing out on potential business for your book if you cannot get that to them same day. You know, or at the very worst by next day. You know, I think that's acceptable. You know, to a lot of brokers is at least within 24 hours. But I think that, again, you know, that's fundamental to the success that Mandy and I have. We work in a similar fashion there, is that we make these commitments to our referral partners. We stand by them. We set the right expectation. We typically exceed that expectation. And then that word of mouth gets out there. You know, I can't tell you how many other mortgage brokers have referred me to other mortgage brokers or have referred me to their realtors. And they'll say, Rob, you know, I'm giving your name to every single realtor out there that I know. because you're the best. You know, the way that you do business is like no one else we've dealt with before. We're going to send you everyone. So just setting that expectation, being efficient with your quoting systems, getting the quotes out there immediately, knowing how to quote. I know that's, you know, one of Phil's big, you know, his sticking points is knowing how to quote. Get that lowest quote offer out there. Don't worry about all the extras, you know, right away, because that's a conversation you can have with the client after the fact to upsell later on. You really just want to get that lowest offer out there. Make sure that the broker has that offer, and that gets the hook, you know, that gets them on the hook. You know, they're on the hook at that point, and then everything after the fact you can make sure is situated for your E&O and for, you know, their, you know, any potential cross sells or upgrades to their insurance. But yeah, that's the long and short of it of kind of, I think, why we're successful.
That sounds fantastic. And of course, you know, that responsiveness, I know, you know, that has been a key. I've talked to, you know, so many different, you know, we owners, and that's one of the things, you know, just being responsive. I wouldn't call other folks lazy. I would just call them, you know, kind of different expectations for them. So we would agree 100% that, you know, quick responses, and that's what people are expecting today, right? They want the consultative approach, but they really want it quickly, right? They don't want to wait.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a fast food environment. You know, we want it now. You know, everything is right now. Give it to me now. So the longer that it takes, you know, you to get that to them, they're already kind of on to the next thing potentially at that point. So it's just, again, yeah, it's just getting it to them as quickly as you possibly can will make all the difference.
I love it. I love it. Well, one other thing we want to talk about just briefly was, you know, location. You know, I know when you did your due diligence, we had these discussions. You know, some other companies require storefronts, you know, hire, you know, X number of, you know, customer service reps or X amount of producers to be in an office. And, you know, our model is very different with the reinsurance. It's very flexible. And so, you know, people say, well, if I don't have a storefront, how will people find me? So, you know, Mandy, you probably have a response to that. I know that we've talked about it. You know, over the years, I think there's been a huge migration away from in person to, you know, it's more acceptable via email, phone, you know, Zoom if that's necessary. You know, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, everybody does everything through technology now. Literally, we've been open 2 years. We've had 3 clients come in, which is fine, but they just want to, you know, they're old school. They want to put the face with the name and make sure that they're giving, you know, the check to the right person, because there is a lot of, you know, stuff going on right now in the world. Mm-hmm. And they just want to make sure who you are. Plus, a lot of people like face-to-face better. But with the DocuSign and the phone and, you know, text and everything, it makes it a lot easier because you really don't need a storefront. I mean, it's just Rob and I in the office, and it's a perfect size for us. You know, when the reps or clients come in, you know, they're welcome to come in, but nobody really wants to come in. So like, can we do it by DocuSign? Absolutely. No problem. Yep. So it just makes it a lot easier with the technology, especially that we have.
Especially right now with COVID, you know, I mean, that's huge, you know, being able to do everything remotely and having that technology package, that all the support, you know, all the documentation can all be done electronically. You don't have to leave your house to buy insurance anymore. You know, and like Mandy said, you know, it's mostly the elderly people, the seniors that want to come in sometimes because they do business with a handshake, you know, but it's rare because even at that, you know, most people have become accustomed to, you know, I'm buying my insurance through Geico 15 minutes or less over the phone, you know, so it's kind of that type of mentality. People have gotten used to that. And, you know, you don't really have to go in and see, you know, your agent anymore, because I'm more than happy to spend all the time you need with me over the phone for you. But the low overhead costs, you know, again, for a starting agency is huge. And, you know, the other models that we looked at, you needed a storefront. So, you know, you're looking at, especially in South Florida, probably a couple thousand a month just to have your storefront. that's a couple thousand a month that Mandy and I could pay ourselves. We were able to survive, with the limited amount of business that we were writing on the first year. We were still able to get by. And, that was a big difference maker again, looking at the big picture of everything that you guys had to offer. The fact that we could just work out of a little tiny suite, a telephone booth really, I mean, is the size of our office if you come in there. Okay, maybe 2 telephone booths, but, a little bit bigger than that. But it's a big difference maker. Yeah. I mean, having that money in your pockets, and like I said, it's just a sign of the times. It's just not really necessary anymore. And you guys seem to be really kind of on the forefront of where things are headed. And it just another reason it helps just with our decision to roll with We.
Well, 2 things were said there I want to point out. Obviously, the business has changed. People don't need to come into an office, and they're not expecting a big office. And then, of course, during any kind of pandemic, no one wants to come into your office anyway. So that saves you from just carrying costs for the last 5 or 6 months anyway. But in addition to that, people, can pick up the phone and, I just got my insurance online, but I have no idea what I just got. Right. And when they go back and analyze it, they've had an accident, God forbid, and then they realize, I don't have any of the coverages I thought I used to have because I saved 15% by actually reducing my coverages, which is up a theme. I've got no one to talk to. I can't really bounce it off somebody else. I don't have a consultant I can actually ask about what happens now if I decide to buy, a 50-foot yacht, right? And I go to the Geico guy and he's going to say, sure, here it is. It's not that type of thing. What if I have, I've decided to get watercraft and I want to have some commercial for small commercial. I can't do that. I don't have one-stop shopping anymore. Now I have stuff all over the place. Frankly, I didn't understand the first one. I certainly don't understand the third one. So, without having that, that consultant I can go to and say, okay, this might be the cheapest, but this actually is the best. And I'm willing to make that decision, through some discussions and some education through an expert. And that's what I really think the value that you guys bring. In addition to having, that many carriers, every carrier that'll fit the right need to the right client and all the services done and, the availability. I really think, having that ability to bounce something off of someone and get a real true professional's opinion on what's right for me. Right. And, one of the really, big value aspects, because culturally we want you to spend time with clients. We don't want you doing the service, right? We want you to spend the time to get it right because it should be your client for life. It shouldn't be just someone, hey, I just boom, there's another one, and slap them down and just get them in there. And if they stay, great. If not, they're always going to stay if you're a resource. And so that's what I think, what you've described to me as a resource, you're a trusted advisor for mortgage brokers, real estate agents, and individual clients. And I think that's truly your value. So,
we do truly, Mandy and I both, I mean, we've said it to many clients, it's like we treat every client like it's a family member, and as cliche as that sounds, it's true. We treat them like family. If they call and they want to just talk, I mean, hey, we'll have a conversation with you. We may be in the background, rolling our eyes at one another, but hey, we'll take that time with you because, that we're trying to build lasting relationships, not just that, one and done. And by renewal, you're searching for someone else. We want to instill that confidence in them. And, that makes a big difference in the renewals because they say, hey, Rob, he seems like he does really care about me. You know what I mean? It really is, something that if you can take that little bit of extra time, go that extra mile for your client, it'll pay off dividends to you in the future, and they'll be sticking around for a while.
Perfect. Well, we have taken up plenty of your time this morning, and I can't say we appreciate it enough. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for being some of our top producers and doing all the great work out there, helping all those people. So
absolutely.
Have a great day, and both thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye, guys.
Bye.